This is what brought me here today. Last August, my dear friends, Harvey Gilmore and Jody Hutchison of Red Letter Counseling, came to visit me at my home in the South Shore of Nova Scotia. And they brought along my dear friend, Doug McCain. We've been friends for over 60 years. The purpose of their visit was to talk about a project they had undertaken and maybe discussing whether it was possible to find some kind of synergy with Mount Allison University. The project? To raise $3 million to pay for the building erected by Maritime Conference for its archives and administrative offices. My three friends invited my opinion on the viability of a partnership with Mount Allison, given the university's historic relationship with the United Church and Methodism. Now, my response was quick and negative. And I said I didn't think there would be much hope of getting Mount Allison to join hands with you. I might be wrong on that. We might be able to tweak that a little bit. We talked about it today. So it's still a possibility. The university does have a lot of challenges of its own, and securing the financing for their annual operations. But as for raising money for archives of any kind, to me, that is about as exciting as watching paint dry. And the best I could say to them was, well, good luck. And don't ask me to donate. On a scale of 1 to 10, the fundraising appeal of this project would be a -10. Anyway, that was kind of a very downer. That was a real downer. I rained on their parade quite hard. But our conversation as friends moved into a discussion of fundraising in general. We shared fundraising stories from our collective years of experiences, our challenges, successes, and the lessons we learned. As I told you, I came to fundraising from both sides of the table. And I've experienced firsthand the challenges of tough campaigns. Family violence, a ballet school, and believe me, those were an easy sell compared to raising money for archives. It had no heartstrings appeal for me. As I have told many, many groups, the key ingredient to successful fundraising is passion. One has to unearth the passion around an issue, an organization, a project. And fundraisers have to ignite the passion in donors, and then they have to find ways to keep fueling that passion. My friend Margaret McCain, who was formerly the president of the Body Shop of Canada, now devotes her time fully to women's issues. And she describes her passion this way: I put my heart in my checkbook, and my checkbook in my heart. And this really would describe my feelings as well. I have to feel something in my heart. It wasn't in the archives. But we talked. We continued to talk and talk and talk. And we eventually got back to the United Church. And we began to zero in on what it is about the United Church of Canada that makes me feel passionate. I began to think about it. Archives don't excite me. But I began to realize there's a lot about the United Church that does excite me, that does make me feel passionate. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. And I guess I really want to take you outside your little individual church buildings and your congregations. Because what excites me about the United Church goes way beyond a church building and reaches out into the world at large. Bottom line, after 2 hours of talk, I had convinced myself. I was engaged, and I was prepared to give. And I was prepared to share my passionate belief about the United Church of Canada and its contribution, not just to your people, but to Canada, to society at large, to the world. And it's huge. I think it's bigger than any of you realize. So that's what I want to talk about. I want to describe my passion. Here it is. Among mainstream world religions, the United Church of Canada, which is the largest faith community in Canada, is a very young church. You all know the history, the merger of three denominations in 1925, Methodist, Congregational, Presbyterian. The United Church is only 87 years old. But although it is the youngest church in the world, its impact on the world is enormous. It's larger than any of you really, I think, fully comprehend. And it needs to be proclaimed. The United Church of Canada is a world leader in two critically important areas that mean something. They mean a lot to me. You have led the world as a faith community in human rights and social justice, and we must not ever minimize this. You have given to two important groups in the world, in society, to women, to gays and lesbians. You have given full acceptance. You have given full participation in church life. You have created a safe place for these two areas of human life. You have given them a safe place to experience spirituality. And when I process the magnitude of this, emotionally and intellectually, my passion is aroused. My feminist passions were aroused quite late. My mother was a single mother, and she was a feminist before I was. But she was widowed at 39, so I essentially was raised by a single mother. I was educated in an all-girls school and attended a female-friendly university. I went to a church that valued women. I did not experience anything that made me feel second class or diminished. That was accepted. That was a given. The first woman ordained in the United Church was Lydia Emily Grundy in 1936. I was 2 years old. The United Church was the first major denomination in the world to affirm the ordination of women. Think of it. Just 11 years after the foundation of the United Church of Canada, they took this major step, leading the world in giving women full and complete affirmation and acceptance. So I grew up in this cultural environment, and it was only when I became immersed in the Anglican Church that I became aware that they did not, and in large part still do not, value and accept women in the same way. Yes, in Canada, the United States, and Australia, the Anglicans do ordain women and even consecrate female bishops, but this is not universal in the Church. The recent failure to pass resolutions in England, in the UK, to consecrate female bishops speaks to this discrimination. Look at the Greek, Russian, Eastern Orthodox churches. Women cannot go to the high altar. We're all aware of the situation for women in the Catholic Church. They're struggling to gain full participation, and probably I will never see it in my lifetime. Fundamentalist churches still discriminate against women. Some even inflict stringent dress codes on women, forbidding them to wear pants, cut their hair. All this in the 21st century. How many female pastors are there? In Islam and Orthodox Judaism, women cannot sit with men in the mosque or synagogue. And in many Islamic countries, women are forced to cower behind burqas and the chador, to be covered. And what about Orthodox Jewish women who have to shave their heads and wear wigs and walk behind their men? I was in Israel last September, and during the week of Yom Kippur and Sukkot, the high religious weeks, their services were totally exclusionary for women. I saw them because many of them took place in our hotel. The women couldn't go near them. In countries dominated by Hindus, women are definitely second-class citizens. They are persecuted, raped, terrorized, sacrificed in forced burnings and suicides. In all these countries, where Buddhism, Sikhs, all of them tolerate and accept these horrific acts of violence against women. Then think of the United Church of Canada, where women have full and equal rights and are able to participate in all roles of the church and are valued. How many of you really fully comprehend the enormity of what you have done for the women of the world and the messages you send? The magnitude of this statement to the world is huge. I know you carry out many, many, many other wonderful functions. You minister, you carry out your mission of ministry to the poor, the sick, the hungry, the homeless, the hurting people of our world. And you do that very well. You carry out your mission in developing countries, and you do that well. Other churches are doing that as well. But the way you value your women is where you are singular and unique. The empowerment of women resonates well beyond the walls of your church communities. It echoes into society at large and into the world. It does not go unnoticed in other faiths and causes more than a little discontent and unrest, but it's good unrest. But then, for the gay lesbian community, the United Church has been a beacon in a dark world. Your leadership worldwide on this issue of human rights and social justice, again, is far greater than any of you realize. Your moderator is gay. He's married. He spoke in my church. How great is that message to the world? Now, champions of the gay lesbian community, I have to mention my friend Doug McCain, who has been a champion and a leader, and Eldon Hay, and may I take a moment to thank them for their leadership on this issue. The canons of the United Church state that gays and lesbians are to be admitted to ordination. Yes, I wish you would clap. Their leadership means so much to me. The canons of the United Church state that gays and lesbians are to be admitted to ordination and to equal participation in the church. It is enormous. Think for a moment of the place of homosexuality and same-sex marriage in the Anglican Church, the Roman Catholic Church, the Baptist Church, fundamentalist churches, in Judaism, in Islam, Hindus, Buddhists, and Sikhs. Do you realize in 78 countries of the world, by your acceptance, by this statement, you could be in their countries, would be in danger of being imprisoned. And in 10 countries of the world, your support and your declaration would make you put you in danger of being executed. I realize there is still some discomfort level with this in some communities, maybe resistance. But your church has responded sensitively to these feelings and beliefs, and some congregations have taken the step of performing same-sex marriages as affirming churches, while others have not yet. And that's okay. Not great, but it's okay for now. It does not go unnoticed that the affirming churches, the inclusive churches among you, are thriving, and they are attracting young people. And this is where youth are going. The days of exclusiveness are over for youth. They actually find it intolerable. But what an example this church has set for the world. We are all created in the image of God. And people in the United Church of Canada do not deny science. They process it in their heads, they process it in their hearts, and in their theology. Though scientific proof related to sexual orientation is not totally definitive, it is getting close. Researchers are telling us that men and women do not choose their sexual orientation. They are proving that there is definitely a genetic or biological component, and before long we will know very much more about it. I won't go into it, all those details, but we will know very soon. We will know for certain what contributes to our physical, mental, and sexual makeup. And when that happens, other faiths around the world are going to have very red faces. There will be many mea culpas and many trips to confession. But the United Church of Canada will hold its head high. I'm so proud of the United Church and what it is doing. Your social impact is enormous. It's a story that is large, it is important, it is critical to proclaim it to the world, and guess where that story resides? The story is held in the archives. It's bigger. It's a safe receptacle. It's an important receptacle. But let's not talk about archives. Let's talk about the United Church story. It's bigger than, well, not that we minimize all your other needs, demands, missions. They're all important. But if you don't allow the United Church as a whole to thrive in the world, to tell your story, to get out there, be proud, and hold your head up, what good is archives? So tell the United Church story. Tell it with pride. Preserve it. Protect it. It's important. So I am going to give to the archives after all.